Welcome back to the Herd of the Line podcast, brought to you by the AAW Network. I am your host, Fletch, and as always, I am joined by Tom, who was with me to review the Super Bowl last week, Oli, who's returning from a couple of weeks out just with busyness of life and all that sort of stuff. You two first, how are you both, gents?
I'm good, thanks, Fletch. Yeah, good. Sad that football's over, but we've got plenty to look forward to.
Yeah,
Very good and very well fed.
do you ever get that moment in a restaurant where as you take a mouthful of food and then the server comes up and says, "Are you
Mm,
having a lovely meal?"
That did just
I
happen.
apologize. I didn't intend to. It's sod's law, right? It's
To be
sod's law. That's
fair,
what happens.
I treated you guys better than I do usually in the restaurant. Because usually in the restaurant I go, yes, mate, like that. I kind of spit out like a yes, mate, loving it.
Don't know
So
why I'm putting my hand over my mouth as if I'm responding with food in my mouth. Um,
thought I'd hold that one in.
But alongside this as well, we have a brand new co-host joining us. You may be familiar with him as he's been a guest on the podcast before. We have the one, the only, the Batch 4547. I don't know if you include that in your actual name or not. Um, how are you, Batch?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good, thank you. Yeah, it's good to be back and to actually make this regular now.
Yeah, it's good to have you back, obviously, and obviously you all be getting used to hearing that accent every week now
Up the
because you will be
Janners.
with us on a permanent basis. So with that though, obviously you're a Cleveland Browns fan. We decided that Ollie wasn't talking about the Cleveland Browns enough. We didn't really get anyone talking about the Browns, so we needed to bring someone
Fair.
in to talk about them. Um,
That's
little
fair.
intro to yourself for those who aren't aware, for those who've joined us late on the journey in the last season or so. How'd you become a Browns fan? Um,
Um,
yes.
well, truth be told, it was back in COVID. Was started watching. I was bored, so I started watching some American football, and then I watched the movie Draft Day. Got into it a bit, and I was like, well, the Cleveland Browns, they're not a bandwagon team. And then I did some research, found they've got they had an okay roster, but they're not, they're not the Chiefs. Yep, there's too many bandwagon Chiefs now. Seahawks, Patriots, all them. I didn't want to be one of those. I wanted to pick a team that isn't necessarily successful, but passionate fans.
Love it. And wasn't there isn't there's a connection to your club, isn't there? Like your soccer club.
Yeah, well, as a Plymouth Argyle fan, one of the radio hosts who used to commentate on Plymouth games was a massive Cleveland Browns fan himself. Unfortunately, he's now passed. He had cancer, but he was a massive Cleveland Browns fan, which I discovered after I picked my team.
Oh, right, yeah, yeah.
And he used to make a pilgrimage every year over to Ohio. So it was, and he's quite well known within the UK Browns backers.
Yeah. Lovely. So appreciate it. And as I say, everybody will get used to having Batch on. So with 285 games gone, the Seahawks are Super Bowl champions. And we thought just this week, while everyone's getting used to football just not being around on a Sunday yesterday with I spoke to Mrs. Fletch for the first time in 6 months. It was um she's actually really nice, you know. She is really nice. And
Yeah,
just
but
as
isn't
we get
she a
used to it,
Saints fan?
take it. Yeah, she is. So she's really nice. Not that nice, obviously, but she is really nice. Um, and as we get used to no football, just thought we'd have a nice, easy week. Talk about the season as a whole. We've recapped weeks at a time. We've not kind of sat and recapped a lot of what's gone on. So that's what we're going to do today. And before we do get into it, don't forget to follow us on the AAW Network on the social medias. Join our free to join Discord server, and you can find all the relevant links and information in the description of this episode. If you are on YouTube, they are right below our faces. If you are on Spotify, Apple, or any other audio platform, You will find them inside the app that you are on. We'll get started with some news. There's not too much that's kind of going on at this moment. It is a bit of a weird dead period, but the Miami Dolphins are clearing house today. Was it Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, and who else has gone?
Akine
Right.
and
Wait.
their
You're saying they released
Nick
A-Chat?
West.
No,
Bradley Chubb.
Oh, Nick
Nick
West. I was going to
Westbrook,
say, there's no way
Akine,
they released.
and James Daniels, a guard.
Right.
So obviously,
Tyreek Hill's going to come back to the Chiefs. It's inevitable. But
James,
whenever he's back from this terrible injury that he's got, he's going to be back in the Chiefs.
just reminds me.
James Daniels signed that 3-year deal last year and blew his pec, so he didn't play the whole season. So they just got out of that deal. But yeah, you can have Tyreek Hill, Tom, because I'm not sure why many people are going to be interested in a 32-year-old receiver who just blew his entire knee out.
I know, that's it exactly,
and isn't exactly the most upstanding
no.
locker room presence, shall we say. He's probably going to still demand quite a lot of money, even though he'll be getting paid out from Miami. But
reminds me of OBJ a bit, because he got injured and then got released, but then he went to Rams and won a Super Bowl, didn't
he? Yeah. I don't think OBJ quite has the rap sheet of.
I was going to say, I think that's a disservice to Tyreek
when it comes to
the
field issues.
Yeah, I meant on the field.
And I
I actually do as well.
Unfortunately,
into Brown.
Nice.
Cleveland Browns hired a DC coordinator. You happy with that, Oli?
I mean, they love surprising everyone. The head coach hire was out of the blue, shall we say? Sorry, I'm just most unfortunate timing again.
I'm so sorry.
It's my fault for eating on a podcast. No, yeah. So obviously, with that field, people would kind of the same. I think for myself, passing a pretty wide net and obviously went with Road. Got experience with a wide 9 system, so it makes sense. It's compatible. He's like a Robert Saleh protege, shall we say? Obviously, loves that kind of attacking style, multiple front, loves running wide 9. So very compatible with the Browns' scheme. Todd Monken wasn't lying when he said that they're going to keep the same scheme. So even though they brought someone else from the outside, I think that clearly with the goal of still running that same scheme, but adding his own wrinkles to it, and pretty much keeping the same staff. And I don't think we're going to see Tava pull in quite the same childish response to not getting the DC job that we saw Jim Schwartz pulled after not getting the head coach job.
Yeah, I was disappointed with his reaction there personally. I liked him as a coordinator. I thought he was fantastic. But then, I ain't got the head coach job. Here's my toys out of the pram. What else we got? Jaguars have signed 2 players, re-signed DJ Dallas and Matt Dickerson. And then Raiders have hired a couple new coaches.
I mean, most importantly of all, Clint Kubiak. They hired him after the Super Bowl.
That's a big signing.
It's a big move for the Raiders. I mean, they've been a organization of dysfunction for going on 20 years now. So they need someone at the helm that's going to be able to steer the ship, potentially try and mend the relationship with Max Crosby, if not get the best value that you can for him. Because I think you'll get at least 1 first-round pick for a guy of that caliber. And then they have the number 1 pick, so it's actually highly about the rate.
just hired his boy as the DC. So why
Oh, do you
else
think
would
he's
you hire?
going to
Like,
stay?
you could have hired a better hiring. Like, well, I say that I'm not actually that fucking keened in with him, but the guy that there is apparently literally Crosby's favorite coach on on the
Oh, fair
defense.
play. So maybe they're trying to appease him, keep him happy. Because if they don't start winning, then he is going to
And to be
demand a
fair,
trade.
Crosby has been a bit like wishy-washy before. You know what I mean? He has
Mm,
been a bit like,
true.
oh, am I gonna do this? Am I gonna do? And then kind of goes back and I'm Raider for life kind of thing. Which, to be fair, do your thing, whatever gets you leverage.
Oh
But
yeah, 100%. Like
led to
get
a
that
massive
money,
contract. I
get
was
that
gonna say
money.
led to a massive contract. So good on him. But
We talk about it all the time, don't we, Ollie? Like we are on the side of the players getting as much money as possible for as long as they can
well, and
play.
especially that actually brings up because it's another news that we've had in the NFL, and that now that you said that, Tom, that relates to that, is the NFL owners banning the teams from doing the end of year they do them report
Yes.
cards and the NFLPA, and they grade like the different stuff all the way from ownership to like the kitchen and cafeteria, everything. And the owners have got that banned because God forbid that we criticize the billionaire owners, even though we can slander and criticize the players as much as we want. But God forbid we get the littlest, tiniest little look into what it's like under these billionaire owners.
Rumor I read was one of the leaders to try and get it banned was the Jets owner who happened to get an F last
Oh yeah,
year.
not surprised about that. They got an F on like most categories last season, so he was probably
I'm sure
bitter and
I'm sure
convincing
the
his
other
crony
coach.
mates to be like, "Oh, let's ban it." So.
I'm sure the other coach in New York was a part of that as well with some of the lists that he's been on in the last couple of weeks.
I want to say,
Mm.
well, I want to say that's not a great time to be an owner of a sports team in New York
Nah,
at this moment in
No.
time for
not a
public
great time.
perception, is it really?
No.
But no, I mean, what I heard was the NFLPA is still going to do the end of season report
Yeah, just
cards.
not
They're
make it
just not going
public.
to publicize them.
And
You
I,
mean
I
Oh,
know that's
really?
absolutely not going to get leaked at all.
I was just
Definitely
No,
about to
not.
never.
say, you mean it
Um,
won't accidentally get leaked?
There's no way
Absolutely
we'll
never.
find out about that, and we should
Um,
find out about it.
absolutely. Is that it for news? I mean, you pretty
Yeah, I
much
think
all
so.
covered it while I was sorting some stuff out.
I'm all out.
This side.
I'm
No
all
worries.
out.
So, like I said, what we're gonna do today, just have a little bit look back at the season. I've got a couple of questions for you, I think, just to get conversation started. Um, and just look back, reminisce a little bit, fix the NFL as and where we can, because apparently that's what we do now here at the AAW Network is we fix leagues. Well, we'll start with like where the league's at a crossroads, right? I think there are a few places where you look back this season, you see the league at a little bit of a crossroads, and these times happen every few years. The league it rolls around, and you just find there just comes a season, maybe two seasons where I guess like your offense catches up to defense a little bit, and the things just kind of get a bit not stale. Stale is probably the wrong word. And it felt to me, and a lot of people, I see quite a lot of people turning around at this moment in time and saying how it's not really felt like there's been a clear number one team from the get go. There have been some very, very, very good teams, but there has been no elite stance on the season. No team has truly, truly stood out above all others. And I want your thoughts on it, right? I don't think there is a right or a wrong answer to this question. But what do you guys think? Like, is there a genuinely elite team, or is the Seahawks? They're a good offense matched by with an elite defense, which doesn't necessarily make for an elite team.
I I disagree. I think that there was two elite teams this year, and they played each other in the NFC Championship game. Those were the two teams that stood out throughout the season for me. Um, I mean, Sam Darnold through the first half of the season was up there in MVP conversations, and then obviously I know the defense sort of carried them the second half of the season. And their running game kind of came to the fore as well. But I would say the two best teams throughout the season were the Rams and the Seahawks, and they played
Yeah,
each other the week before the Super Bowl, and that felt like the de facto Super Bowl, basically.
yeah.
I'll give you that. Yeah, completely agree.
Uh,
Elite probably is defense has been elite. but the two best teams, as Tom's just said, were the de facto NFC champion.
Yeah. I think obviously you look at we can make the argument for if Bo Nix was in the AFC Championship, the Broncos would have won, right? But as the old Gino DeCampo thing was, well, if my aunt had wheels, she'd be a bike, right? So that wasn't the case. But the Broncos at no point. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we've all sat on this pod this season and gone, the Broncos should not have won that game. They should not have gone 14-3. They should not have got that far. The Broncos were not elite. They had obviously a very, 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 very good defense and an offense that kind of did enough to get by.
One in the fourth quarter, that's basically what they did. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so you look at the fact that it's no secret the Patriots had the easiest strength of schedule in the NFL. You have to factor in those things. But the Seahawks had the fifth, right in for the schedule. So even then, it's not like their schedule was. They didn't go 14-3 going truly against the best all year.
No,
the bag strength of schedule.
But at the same time, you've got to beat what's in front of you, and they did. It was very similar to the Pats. Let's be honest, the Pats absolutely played tomato cans most of the time, but they still won.
Yeah. I just. What about you, Ollie? I know you said, well, off camera, you were like, well, no, I said quite early on the Seahawks would win the Super Bowl. He's running back. There he is.
Yeah, I'm here. I mean, I to be honest, I think I have a completely different take, I suppose, on this, because I mean, I've seen this kind of whole, narrative of like, oh well, we didn't have Mahomes in the Super Bowl, we didn't have the Chiefs, and it wasn't the two best teams in the NFL, and blah blah blah, and all of this kind of stuff. And I suppose as a Browns fan, as an NFL fan, this is kind of like my favorite part. You kind of said it there earlier, Fletch, kind of like how you get this every few years where teams have figured each other out. Something that kind of took the lead by storm for a couple of years, whether it was running too high safety, the last couple of kind of years, teams kind of figure it out. Other side of the ball, things that didn't run, teams trying to figure it out, and you get, as you kind of said, you get to this stalemate where, to me, that's not boring. That's what makes it fun, because we then get to see who the good coaches are, who the good teams are, who are able to adapt, who are able to kind of figure that out. I mean, we saw what obviously McDonald did with the Seahawks defense this year. People are trying to say like trying to replicate that on their team on defense, and it's like you can't replicate that. A, do you have a 6'3", 240-pound safety? I don't think so. And B, do you have a defensive coordinator that's running quantum physics out there, let alone defensive scheme? So, everyone can try to say, "Oh, the Chiefs are not," and all of this kind of stuff. But I don't want to see the Chiefs. No credit to you, Tom, but I don't want to see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl every year. I don't want to see the same Super Bowl every single year. I like parity. I think that's what makes the NFL stand out to other sports leagues. So I think this is those kind of moments in the NFL that I like. Kind of see what teams can figure it out. See what teams can come away and
I would agree with you as well. Even as a fan of a team that's won a lot recently, you like to see the competitiveness of the league. You like to see the parity. You like to see consistent change at the top to create new exciting matchups and what have you as well. So I totally understand that.
And not to make everyone here feel old, but like you think about, I mean, it feels like yesterday where the previous generation of quarterbacks, the Tom Brady's and the Drew Breeses and Peyton Manning, all these kind of guys, they all retired. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is 30. You know what I mean? Obviously, all these kind of other guys are nearly 30. Josh Allen's nearly 30. I mean, you think about all that kind of 2018 draft class, that Sam Darnold was the first guy to win a Super Bowl. He's the youngest in that class. So a lot of these guys are like, 30 or just about to turn 30 now, who's going to be the next kind of guy in that younger class. Caleb Williams, Drake May, we just saw went to a Super Bowl. Who's going to be that next guy that can kind of, is there going to be obviously we're not going to see what Mahomes did in his first couple of seasons in the NFL for a long time. That was something that's we never really seen before in the NFL. But who's going to come in that kind of style and be that next guy that Tom Brady was to Mahomes? That Mahomes was to Tom Brady when he came in. Is that going to be Caleb Williams or Drake May or anyone else or anyone that gets drafted this year or next year?
Yeah.
That's what I'm excited to see. And I think this is a fun point in the NFL, fun moment.
I was gonna say I'm not peddling the narrative as if it's my narrative that there's no elite teams. I'm just saying this is the narrative that's currently kind of, I guess, running around in social media, and I want your guys' thoughts on it as to how the season's gone. What I will ask you though is, do you think that when narratives come around like this, because I hate when certain narratives lead up because sometimes they feel a bit lazy, and there's a method to it. Well, there's madness to it, but there's no real method to this madness. But there is a truth underlying. What we have and what we've seen for the last 3 to 4 years, I guess, since 2020, since that COVID season, is we've had a traditional. I say traditional because it's only been a few years, but you have a top 4 or 5 teams that you can say every year they're the top 4 or 5 teams. The Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals, the Ravens, those kind of teams on the AFC side.
Bengals haven't been in the playoffs for 3 years, so I'm not sure about that. But
well, I mean, you're looking at teams like you look at guys like Joe Burrow when you say he should be in that upper echelon of players every year.
If you bet on the Chiefs to make the Super Bowl every year 5 years ago, you'd be a rich man.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But then you also look at the NFC side, and you'd be looking at you think the Rams are going to be there and thereabouts every year, which they were. Over the last few years, again, I know they've had a couple of up and down parts of it, but the Eagles, you kind of expect them to at least be somewhat near the playoffs, which again they were. But
the 49ers.
It feels like the majority of those specific teams, some of them look very, very good, some of them didn't look as good, but because those specific teams weren't the ones in being spoken about as much as top teams in the playoffs. Unlike that, but the Rams were obviously I guess in that conversation.
For me, it was
nobody could quite figure it out, and it's instead of it being there are no elite teams, it's not the teams that I would consider right now to be elite and think would be up there.
For me, it was a nice change to have the Broncos, the Eagles not there, the Chiefs not there, the Bengals not there, the Ravens not there. It was just nice and refreshing. Admittedly,
obviously the Steelers still there though.
Losing in the playoffs, and
of course the Steelers still get into the first round and losing.
Yeah, but it was nice to have a bit of a break from the norm.
And in that same breath, Fletch, I've seen people. I saw a post that the AFC Championship would have been so much better with Josh Allen. It was like, bro, he was in the playoffs, man. Like, what are we doing here? Like, we're like, just because the guy lost in the playoffs,
and he's a big reason that they lost as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's like you can't just be like, if he was in the conference championship, it would have been a better game. Like, he's just gonna throw 5 touchdowns in the blizzard or something,
Yeah, and even the Chiefs, even Tom will be the first person to tell, before Patrick Mahomes got injured, the Chiefs weren't making the playoffs.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was a bad Chiefs team, and
it was.
So people can say it wasn't. Did you want to see that Chiefs team in the AFC Champion? I'd like against that. Against the Texans defense or something like that. I wouldn't have. That'd have been
it would have been a
very fun
pretty turgid game, I reckon.
and yes, don't get me wrong, the Super Bowl was not great. It was not really competitive at all. I think we all knew how it was going to go and how it started. But I just as you said, Batch, as I think everyone agrees, I like to see parity in the NFL. I like to see different teams get a shot, and hopefully my team can be one of those teams soon.
Our team.
Yeah.
Nah, absolutely. I mean,
it was strange. Like for me, at the start of the season, I always said, Chiefs always find a way to win. And that was like, everyone thought it was near enough a foregone conclusion because they started last season reasonably bad as well, but they still made the bowl. So it was just strange, but good, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I say, what we do, and I like to think for the most part, we're an honest bunch of individuals, right? We don't we we all, whether we want to admit it or not, have our own, even if it's subconscious biases as we look at things, but we're an honest group of people. And we'll try not to jump on this is a narrative, so we're on this specific narrative. So it may not even apply to us per se, but I'm looking at people out there who are so easy to just jump on a narrative because it's a narrative, or so easy to follow. Like it's a lazy way of going about things. And like I say, just the Chiefs aren't there. The Eagles were throughout the season. Don't care if they made the playoffs. They've been a shell of what they were last year.
Mm.
No, we all knew the 49ers were good, but we knew they weren't going too far because you can't sustain that injury record going into the playoffs. But I say, I'm just looking at these narratives out there and thinking it's not a case of no elite team out there. It's a case of people's perceived notions of what an elite team is was not met, and that's high scoring, high caliber offense.
Well, it's quarterback in the end of the day. Like in the end of the day, it's quarterback. Like if Patrick Mahomes and Matthew Stafford are in the Super Bowl, that Super Bowl all week is getting talked about so much more than Sam Darnold versus Drake May. And you know, Sam Darnold had a great year, as you kind of said earlier, Tom, but he didn't light up the Super Bowl. I think it was kind of and that was kind of I think what those kind of people thought it would be like. And I think to me that's what I mean, those things obviously factor in as well, Fletch. But in the
Yeah,
end of the day, the biggest thing is you didn't have Patrick Mahomes to put on your poster. You didn't have Matthew Stafford to put on your poster. You had to put Drake May and Sam Darnold on the poster. And I just that's what made it as less buzz that we've seen in the last five or so years,
yeah.
in my opinion.
If you would have said when I was clearing the folder to make the poster, to be fair, I did make one of the posters. Like if you would have said you'd be clearing out all of those names and putting Sam Darnold and Drake May in that poster, I would have gone and
Yeah.
told you where you can stick those photos, and that would not be in the trash.
And it's like everyone, you know, everyone always says like, oh, I get bored of great, like, and I just said it earlier. I actually am, you know, I'm consistent in this belief. I don't do this what I'm about to say, but you know, people always say like, oh, I'm bored of greatness, all of that stuff, and then we get a Super Bowl that, and they're like, oh, and it's like, well, hold on, you just keep saying you're bored of seeing Patrick Mahomes all the time, and now you're complaining that it's not Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
So which way will I make
Yeah,
your
yeah,
mind up? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
You can't be turning and throwing. You got to like stick to your opinion of
Yeah, that's
what
just
you
moaning for
think.
the sake of
Yeah,
moaning. Like,
yeah,
But
100%.
this is where we have to look and say like, social media is not a great barometer for where
no, no,
intelligent people are really
no,
at in their thought processes.
no, especially not
Um,
talking about sports.
No.
no, and what I'll ask you then as well then, right? We'll move away from the elite and the elite conversation. Now, what I do feel, and I will stand on this, yes, there were a couple of terrible teams this year, the Jets, the Raiders, for the most part, the Titans. But it felt this season like there was a whole heap of really fucking mid, right?
Mm.
A whole heap of mid, and it does fit. It just feels like normally
Both of our teams were in there,
it's
Fletch.
oh, absolutely, right. There's a nice stretch between horrible and that, and teams do fit. But then you had a
Yeah.
couple of really bad, couple of really good, and then in the middle you just had this whole heap of like. And I want to throw in teams that were at one point we thought would be the elite team that had run away with it, but then turned out to be not so great. Colts, and other teams of that, a couple of teams of that ilk are teams that started off horribly and then quietly went on a decent run towards the end of the season, never made the playoffs.
Saints.
Dolphins, Saints, yeah.
Mm.
What about this? I want to ask you about this pile of mid in the middle of the NFL.
I mean, that's just the NFL. I mean,
Mm.
that's just. I mean, that is what you are in the NFL. Like when the season starts, you are in that pile of mids, and it's your job to climb out of it or sink below it. And I think and that's like, you know, it kind of points to, as we said, the parity earlier. And I just think this year even more so, because we did have what appears to be more parity. You get that larger pool of mid, as you said. Like before, it's the same teams in that mid pole, and then you've got the same teams in that, you know, crap pile in terms of the Jets, the Browns, kind of last year. You know what I mean? And all those kind of 4-win or less teams. But I think that that big pile of mid is the NFL, I suppose. Is my
Would you
is my answer to that.
would you put the Ravens in the mid category?
Yeah, this season,
put-
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd put everyone other than the Rams and the Seahawks in that thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's in the end of the day, like,
Yeah.
is that Denver team is like you kind of pointed to it, like, is that a great team? Like, okay, maybe it's a good team. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I
No,
think that's a good point to be at right now.
I
And
agree. I agree. Like the Broncos this season reminded me of the Chiefs last year, where they won a bunch of games, and everyone thought that they were, they weren't actually that good, but they just won a bunch of games and then got blown out by the Eagles. I feel like that's what a similar part of what would have happened to the Broncos if they did play an elite offense at some point.
Also, yeah,
So
that same result was happening in the Super Bowl, whether it
yeah,
was the Broncos or the
yeah.
Patriots. No matter who was
Oh,
in it, that same
100%.
result was happening.
It wouldn't have
this
mattered, to be
this was
honest.
the worst year from the AFC. I mean, 4 years ago, we were literally sat there, not Tom, because he's the Chiefs fan, but Batch included. Every fan of any other team other than the Chiefs was sat there going, "This is literally a joke." And like, what do we have to? And I suppose this kind of goes to our point earlier of what we were saying, and it's kind of like, do you know what I mean? You had that view of like, well, I need to get a quarterback then that can go up against Patrick Mahomes or that can go against Josh Allen. And now we're in this period where our teams in the AFC are going to step back and go, well, actually, I don't think I do need to go and get the next Peyton Manning in the draft. Maybe I can build a great defense. Maybe I can build a great running game. And then I can bring a competent quarterback in and do it the old fashioned way. And I don't need to, in the end of the day, like, everyone wants to have a dynasty, but only the Chiefs and the Patriots, and there's only one dynasty every decade. So, and there's only one team that does that, and everyone else can say they want to be a dynasty. But I'm telling you now, if the opportunity for one Super Bowl in a decade is there, you're going to take it. And I think that's maybe what teams are going to sit back and I hope that my team sit backs and does, and a lot of teams will do, and they think, you know what, maybe it's not I have to go and get Peyton Manning. Don't get me wrong. Quarterback is always going to be the most important position. You always need a target quarterback over everything else if you don't have one. Yeah. But I don't think it's going to be quite the same kind of like, I need to go and get someone that can go toe to toe with Patrick Mahomes. Otherwise, I'm screwed. Maybe teams invest more in their run game, invest more in their defense. And if you're a football fan like me and a football fan like I know Fletch is with his college watching, and that's a style of football that I love to watch, and I know that you love to watch as well, Fletch. So I'm certainly not going to be mad against that at all.
Yeah.
Well, this season really come to the fore of the old saying, defense wins championships. Let's be honest, Seahawks defense was unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
they took away one of the sacks for the Seahawks in the Super Bowl because it was a interception, whatever. But they had 7 sacks, which I think is a Super Bowl record. Even though it didn't count, like they got 6 and then they got the defensive touchdown.
Yeah, and
they were dominant.
That saying has been a lie for years, and even like this, like, don't get me wrong, like if Seattle's got Zach Wilson at quarterback, they don't win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Obviously, there's other factors, but yeah, this is the year more than. I mean, I suppose last year you can argue with what the Eagles did.
Yeah, what the Eagles did. You're right, though.
Against,
It
and then you
tends
look at what
to be
the
a
Bucks
lie.
did against you as well.
It has tended to be a lie.
Yeah, but now, yeah, as you said, Batch, I think this year, you can point to. I mean, that's the best defense, not just this year. That's one of the better defenses we've seen in quite some time. So, yeah.
As I've heard on other podcasts and things, the NFL runs very much on cycles.
Yeah.
It's very much cyclical, and it's a copycat league, and it's a cyclical league. There will always be, and that's how it will always. That's sports in general, I think. And the NFL obviously has the cyclical version of the parity a lot better than most non-American leagues do because of things like the draft and the salary cap and all those sorts of things. But yeah, it's absolutely it's cyclical. It's I literally just used that word about 6 times 2 seconds ago. Six field goal and copycat. Um,
Yeah.
and then
I,
someone
I
comes
I
in
would
with
say I would say Fletch as well, going back to your original point of, the midness of it. I would agree with Ollie that it is the NFL, but it did feel like overwhelmingly that there was teams that hadn't been mid, had been in that, elite category that
yeah,
then dropped down into the mid. So that I think that's maybe what drew attention to it more than anything. Teams like the Lions, like the Chiefs, even like the Eagles. So I guess that kind of drew attention to
yeah.
the fact that a lot of the teams were mid.
I think, yeah, it does. And I think when you've got the attention, because those franchises take attention,
Mm,
obviously there's lots of attention on the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bengals. There was lots of attention on the Lions. There was lots of attention on a various amount of other franchises who have somewhat seen success within the last few years. You look at a team like, I think, well, there isn't as much, I'd say, focus on teams like the Falcons,
mm,
but with the Bucks being who they are as well, there's attention on the Bucks and the entire NFC South for negative reasons, I think, where like because those teams pull attention and those teams are all sat there in that mid category. There's just so many eyes on the mid category there, and there's so many eyes on that pile of mid that
mm.
just maybe there is just a bit too much attention on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, But I'm gonna throw it back, and I'm gonna say by the way, just on the defense wins championships, I get it. Like that phrase has rang true, and when Paul Bear Bryant said it, R.I.P. Paul, like that was the '60s, it was the '70s, and that absolutely meant something. And up until the last 15 years, that's been absolutely. But as the league gets more offensive and the rules do favor offense more than
Mm,
defense,
And they're gonna
going to
change the.
yeah,
You mentioned earlier that this period that we're in, Fletch, they're gonna change the rules. They whatever the leagues
yeah,
that looked at this year and going, nah, these defenses are too good. How can we help the
mm.
offense?
yeah.
And we'll get a rule change in the next 2 years that's gonna help the offense even more.
Yeah, and but
Like
like
the
it
kicking
is
one.
exact. But like you're absolutely right. This year has been the case of defense wins championships, and not one team that made it. I think into the I was a Final Four. That I've been reading too much March Madness stuff. Um, it's like all four of those teams had very good defenses and very very
Mm.
very good defensive plays, including the Rams. But yeah, it's just this year it has absolutely been the case because a lot of defenses are catching up to where we're at in offense now, and but I say, as Ollie says, there's got to be a couple of rule changes in the off season this season, and then the off season, and it's the cycle starts again. Um,
I'll tell you one thing though that is interesting because obviously talking about this final thing on the midness thing,
yeah.
we've still got a lot of really good games though. Like if
Oh
if
yeah.
you pick out like even games between teams that like weren't great, like the Cowboys and the Giants playing a blinder. Like
Panthers had some great games,
yeah,
Yeah.
Panthers had the
and I
game against
think
the Rams, and then who was the other one? The Bills. Well, the Bills playing the Ravens week one. That was a great game. Like so there was some
I
really good games still.
I I think that is
Oh
because of
yeah.
the mid thing though, Tom. Like I
Yeah.
think that is because of what we were saying with the more teams in that kind of perceived mid pile, the more kind of parity, you're gonna get better games, in my opinion.
Mm,
And that's why I prefer it that way. And I think every
yeah.
NFL fan should. No one wants to see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl every year going 15-2. You want to see good games, as you said.
But you also don't want to see a week on red zone every week where one team's getting shut out or they've been held to 2 field goals every week while another
Yeah.
team's
It's
winning
it's
30,
somewhere in
40
Yeah,
between, I
20.
yeah.
guess. Yeah.
You want to see games where the vast majority are within one score. And every week when I get kind of the stuff from the NFL and the media side of things, it's like there was a record amount of games held between one score
Mm,
this week. It's the most
Yeah.
in a week 12 ever. Like that is in and of itself a good thing because we're not
mm,
getting as many blowouts and the
yeah.
amount of comebacks this year. And do you go throw back to that Broncos Giants game as well? We
That was
talk about
crazy.
some of those games have been crazy with the comebacks. And what I do as we move on from kind of whether teams have run away with this or not or whatever. Um, there is another narrative that's out there. I have complained about refs this year on the pod, I've complained, and I know that it's been brought up on various other podcasts. It's been brought up, it has maybe just because I've had the last couple of years of feeling really good about my team, and then this year I need to feel hard done by. So something needs to take the blame apart from my franchise. It does to an extent, though. Feel like officiating's just been not quite as good, and has continued to be on this little decline of some of these judgment calls. The judgment, but it's the wrong judge. There is an objectively wrong judgment that has been made, and some of these little things that are coming in that I don't know. It feels like a lot of these calls are happening. Or is there a point at this moment where there are just too many people talking about it too many times in a week?
I think it's more the consistency of the calls from what I see anyway, of the, one thing is called this and then another thing isn't called or what have you. Like what we really want is just the consistency throughout, which you're not going to get that, it's not going to be perfect, but it just feels like that consistency has just been so up and down. Like in one game it's this, in another game it's this. Um,
Yeah, but Chiefs didn't have the zebras helping them this year, so that's
Oh
why they're
yeah,
not.
yeah. That all that narrative as well.
But
Chiefs helping the refs and stuff.
I
So
mean, that kind of goes. Well, I want to not about the Chiefs helping the refs, but and like don't get me wrong, I want to start by saying like I'm not defending officiating in the NFL. Like I think officiating in the NFL has been crap and has crap for ages. Like they need to just put a real bird's eye camera in there, and instead of having these certain things that can be checked and
you need to
certain
stop
things that
cutting to
can't.
New York as well, like where it's just like
Just yeah,
away
just have a
from the game
genuine sky.
situation. And
If rugby can do it better than you, then there's a problem. So just figure out how to do video replay properly and figure out how to get it done. It's so easy to do, and they keep
yeah,
refusing to do it. All of that stuff, but officiating is being bad, and I push back on like, oh, it was worse this year. It's like, no, it was just worse. You thought it was worse this year, Fletch, and you said it there yourself, Fletch. Like you thought it was worse this year, Fletch, because your team was supposed to be good, and they lost games that they weren't supposed to lose. And yes, those calls stood out more, but on the flip side of that, if your team sucked, you don't really care about it as much. Or on the flip side of it, if you're the team getting those calls, you don't really care about it as much. Where if it's your team getting the call or the other team getting the call, that's still the wrong call. You know what I mean? And if it's the wrong call, so I think it just comes down to, I mean, if your team's good. Tom's team didn't make the playoffs this year. We've not seen Tom moaning about the officiating this year as we have compared to other years because his team didn't have that same expectation. He didn't have those same bigger moments, bigger games where those calls obviously stand out more. So I think NFL officiating is crap. Don't get me wrong, but I think how the individual experiences the officiating is just purely down to their team and the expectation of their team and how it went that year. And I just think it's the same crapness every year. And we shouldn't say, oh, it was worse this year, which then indicates that it was better last year. No, it
yeah.
wasn't better last year. It was also crap last year as well. The standard has not been good enough the whole time. But I obviously, yeah, I can say this as a Browns fan because my team's not been in many high stake games, but yeah, I just think it comes down more to that individual's reaction of it is more just to do with their team and how their
What
team
about what I
interacts with
said,
it.
Ollie, about the consistency, like of the calls? Like, what do
Yeah,
you
it's
think of
crap.
it from
Don't
that?
get me, I was going to say, like, I'm not
Yeah.
even remotely defending NFL. Like NFL
Mm.
officiating is some of the worst in sports. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. The rules make no sense surrounding it. Why they have these weird, oh, I can check this, but I can't check that. This thing can be
Mm.
done in this period, but it can't be done in this period. It's stupid.
Yeah.
Just have a consistent thing. Have a real sky cam. Have a real video replay assist instead of putting it in the hands of all of this stupid stuff
Yeah.
and just pretend and let's start doing this. These are part time. We can blame the referees in the end of the day. These are part time. Like
Mm.
if you're not paying me full time wage and you're expecting me to go out there on some of the highest bet on games and the highest stake games in sports. and you're not even willing to pay me a full time. Like, what are we doing here? Like, why are these guys not full time? Why have we not got like 100 guys brought in every year that get trained and go through like a whole training regiment, or, all paid for them and everything? Because that's what jobs do. That's what that's what every other industry does. So why on earth is the NFL bringing in these part time referee? It makes no sense. So at the end of the day, we can blame I don't want to rant it, but we can blame the individual refs, and we can point out that this ref made that wrong call in that moment. That yes, he made that wrong call. You mentioned it earlier, Tom. It's human judgment. We'd all rather have that human we can all sit here and say I want the decisions to be perfect every time. We're British. We've seen how VAR's been, right? We can argue with the VAR decisions, but in the end of the day, with all the robotic stuff, that is that, you know what I mean, and we're moaning now. Whereas I think we can all sit in now and say I'd much rather have that human element where yes, they're going to get it wrong, maybe one in 100 times, but you've still got that subjective nature of it behind certain calls. Whereas there's no consistency in the NFL. There's no like football where it's like, well, this is subjective and this is definitive. It's just all over the place. And
exactly.
That's my rant.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. And
to blame the
also
NFL, like
I mean,
get these guys
and then you have people like Roger Goodell come out and be like, "Oh, our officiating is like an all-time, like positive level or whatever," because he's just trying to mask everything that's happening. But I think also part of it is down to that. You mentioned it briefly about the money that is in the NFL, the money that's in the gambling for the NFL, the prop bets, the this, the that. Like, I feel like that does have an impact on, some of these decisions and whether they call this or whether they do that. And
oh yeah. When you've got that much stake on obviously these days, you need to get this stuff right. Why are they part time? The NFL's got enough money to pay these dudes. Like, you know what I mean? You just had the biggest pop star in the world as your. I'm sure that wasn't cheap. So you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure you can pay for some of these refs to be full time. So what are we doing here?
One thing I'll say as well is it's at the part time. So what are they doing Monday to Friday?
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing?
What are they doing Monday to Friday? They're in
are they generally like doing them? Is he out there delivering mail? And then on Sunday they're having to make some of the biggest calls in American sports. Do you know what I mean? What are we doing?
I'm not even thinking that. Say one of them, you've got a guy he works in law, right? Works in an office in a law. Do you think, right, the Cowboys fan sat 2 desks down from him when he's about to go and ref the Cowboys game on Sunday? He's not making comments towards him. Like, I'm gonna slap the coffee out your hand on Monday if the Cowboys lose. I'm like, I don't want to waste my coffee. I'm going to make sure I don't help. Like, obviously,
it's just
quite that low stakes, but you know what I mean. You've got to go.
And people can say that's ridiculous, which like it is, right? But in the end of the day, just eliminate any room for any of that. Like, you can say it's ridiculous as you want. You can say that's a minuscule potential or whatever. Okay, I'd rather that be zero. So let's just make these guys full time. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. It's it.
But you've been worryingly quiet for the last 10 minutes. Are you okay over there?
Yeah,
Matt actually loves refs, and he thinks they should be part time, and he thinks we should.
No, I'm actually listening to a good rant from Oli, but there is one question. There is one question. Did anyone see much of these new microchips used to measure if the ball had crossed?
I saw it a couple of times.
No, they were quite small.
The first down thing.
Yeah.
Cheers.
I mean, I don't think
funny man.
Did it make that much of an impact? I mean, it seemed like there were still ones that were like called short that weren't short and all this sort of stuff.
It was so bad. It was like me and you said it during one game, Tom. We were like, hold on a minute. It might have been the first game of the season, Tom, when we were watching it. And we were like, this is taking, it actually was, I can remember now. This is taking longer than when they brought the chains out. Like, what are we doing here? Like, how have we made this worse? Like,
literally.
And that's
at least the chain had some nostalgia to it.
Yeah.
This is the worst, right? And you bring up VAR, and that's just for a first down. Right, you've got to sit there waiting 4 or 5 minutes
I'm
for a first down. Imagine you've just got a touchdown and you've got to wait for that long, and then you run to VAR. How do you think it was last week when City score against Liverpool right at the end, teams running off celebrate, and then you just got to kind of wait.
Yeah, you got to sit there for
I've been in
3 minutes.
stadiums. I've been in
Yeah.
stadiums where a goal's gone in, you've all started jumping up, and then I'm gone VAR's checking it, and you all just kind of stand there like, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
first time I experienced it was in a Villarreal stadium, and they didn't have there was nothing on the board to tell you that it was VAR or anything like that. So you're there celebrating a goal, and then the next thing you know, they're taking a free, and it's like,
Yeah.
what? Like what just happened there? But yeah, as you said, I mean, yeah, I think we spent a bit too long on dunking on the rest, but yeah, I think we're all
So
right.
what I'm gonna move on because there was another topic I wanted to get on to, and the conversation around elite mid and all that sort of stuff also went on for a while. So I'm gonna go around the room, and in a segment inspired by good friend of the network in the pod, Andy Davis, we're gonna talk
Hey,
the winners and losers.
who I beat in the
26
grand final of the Mastermind, by the way.
Hang on, Tom. I did not hear what you just said. Can you please repeat what you have just said?
Who I beat in the grand final of Mastermind.
You
Good
won the.
team when great teams cover Mastermind. So
So what you're saying, Tom, is you won the good teams win, great teams cover, mastermind grand final. You won.
Yeah.
yes,
Well,
I am
no.
saying
What
that.
he's saying is that as a representative of Hurdle the Line, he
I'm
won,
Midnight
obviously,
Sports.
Yeah,
which technically means that we all won.
I
So
mean,
Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
I think
100%.
that's
take
exactly how
that,
I see it.
other podcasts.
I mean,
So
I
if
don't.
anyone listening, if you want to know that you're actually getting, the best news and the best information here, now you know. We know our stuff.
Didn't
We
order
do.
Tom
myself
does,
this
but we
trophy
don't.
for nothing for it.
Yeah.
Like,
Look at that.
congratulations, me.
There
Um,
we go.
that's actually an old kickboxing trophy.
Oh, mate.
But
Uh,
but no. So what we'll do? We're gonna go through winners and losers of the season. Now you're not allowed to choose the Seattle Seahawks who were winners because they won the Super Bowl. You're not allowed to choose Raiders as the losers because they're the one with the number one overall pick, so they had the worst record. I want you to go with something that's not too on the head or on the nose. Who are your winners and losers for the 2026 season? Would anyone like to go first and volunteer themselves?
yeah,
Go on, Tom.
I'll tell you the biggest loser from what I saw, more just because the whole roster, more than anything, was the Washington Commanders. Not just because of the health of Jen Daniels, but also just their aging roster as a whole. You know, they made a bunch of signings in free agency in the hope that they'd work out, and they were one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Terry McLaurin was injured most of the season. Deebo Samuel, like basically, it was just a whole lot of terrible for the Commanders who were coming off a season where they went to the NFC Championship game. And how many wins did they end up on? Like 5 wins?
Yeah, 5 or 6, wasn't it?
Yeah. Were they 5-11 or six and
Five,
11?
5 wins, same as Browns.
5-12.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
got the worst pick of the 5 and 12 teams because
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Browns
That's
got
it.
the
So it's
better
not
pick.
even just the season itself. Off the back of that, they didn't get the worst pick as well. So I would
It is
definitely
theirs,
put
yeah.
them in one of the bigger loser categories.
Can I just say, because before I know Fletch is going to ask something in a bit. Can I just say that on one of my good takes before the season was that the Commanders were going to take a massive step back, and
Did
I
say
don't get me
that.
wrong, didn't expect them to get quite as injured as they did. But that seems to be happen a theme with every team that I pick in any scenario. They get really injured, but yeah, obviously I didn't expect much from the Commanders, but I didn't expect them to be, yeah, as you said, Tom. You know, the quarterback to be as injured, and what the hell they were doing with the quarterback, bringing him back, etc. as
Oh
well.
yeah, well when they were down by like 30 points
Yeah,
and then just play them anyway.
who's your biggest winner then, Tom? To round
Biggest
it up,
winner.
is that was right, Fletch, wasn't it? Winner and a
Yeah,
loser.
yeah. I mean, if you want a second to think about that one, I can go around with some more losers.
Yeah, sure,
Right.
sure. Go
So
around with the losers.
Yeah.
I'll hit you with one. I think this one was hilarious, and you gotta. I'll await the look, but I think the San Francisco 49ers were massive losers this season. Not for the fact that they obviously great record. You make the playoffs, you beat the Eagles in the playoffs, fantastic. Effectively, all of that was for a comeback player of the year and a conspiracy about why all your players are injured. That's all anyone cares about coming out of your season. And then you have to watch your own divisional rival win the Super Bowl in your stadium, right? Forget the record. Congratulations. Forget the fact that they won a playoff game. It was all for a trophy that no one really is too bothered about because the only one people care about that year is the MVP. And the fact that your team is now known for having a conspiracy theory in your own back garden and a Seahawks Super Bowl win. That's I think you're a loser for that.
I care about the defensive player of the year and the
Well,
defensive
yeah.
rookie of the year trophies
Yeah.
to be honest with you as well. But yeah,
Which
I get
I
your
would
point.
say, okay, no one cares about anything outside of MVP, offensive and defensive player of the years, and then slight interest in those other ones.
I mean, I think that is I think that is very harsh, but yes, in terms of the just winning the Super Bowl with a division rival winning the Super Bowl in your stadium, yes, I think that is probably enough to warrant a biggest loser tag, just because that is every team that other than the Seahawks get that same lack of trophy as you said, Fletch, but they're the only team that had to watch their division rival win the Super Bowl in their stadium. So I think that is a good shout. That is a good shout from you.
See, there was method to the
Um,
madness there. There was method to it.
I'm I'm gonna go. I've got two. Like one that I want to say just to piss Tom off,
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it.
and then but then I've got one that I actually mean. So I'm gonna go with the one I actually mean.
Oh,
And that's obviously the Minnesota Vikings, who you
Mm.
said it, Fletch. They had to watch their division. The 49ers had to watch their division rival win a Super Bowl in their stadium. This team had to watch the quarterback that won them 14 games last season go and win 14 games for another team and take them to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. Whilst also the guy that you let
But
him
but
go.
it's okay because they got 9.
But I was going to say the guy that is
wins.
everything's fine because the guy that you let him walk for is shit. Sorry, pardon my French. But I don't even think sucks what is enough with how bad his performances were. So the Vikings are now in a situation where I mean they just fired their GM. So Kwesi, if you want to come home, I'm sure there's space for you in the Browns building. I'm sure your desk is still there.
But will you let him have pat leave?
Oh no, he's not getting any decisions on quarterbacks. That's for sure.
I'm asking if you.
No,
I'm asking if you
paternity
give him
leave.
paternity leave. Would you let him have paternity leave?
Yeah, of course I would. I think that whole thing was absolutely ridiculous. I think don't get me wrong, fire the man and make things about his quarterback decisions, and you can argue how much of them were his decisions versus the coach's decisions. Kevin O'Connell is also there, the quarterback whisperer. I'm sure he has a lot to say with the quarterback decisions in that building. But to then, I get it, fire him. I understand that. I'm not blaming them for firing him. I don't think that's the wrong decision necessarily. But to then try and, pile on the man and slander the man for taking paternity leave, I think is just bad taste and
Yeah.
is just stupid. And I think we've glorified this kind of attitude of that we should give up everything that we in our lives that we care about. And don't get me wrong, you can work hard and you can put a lot of effort into things, but I still think you can give 2 weeks of the year to spend time with your newborn child. But that's neither here nor there. Minnesota Vikings, yeah, I think biggest loser, having to watch Sam Darnold go and win a Super Bowl, whilst their quarterback situation is dire, and their situation overall is pretty dire.
But you batch, who are your losers of the season?
Ravens might be slightly controversial, but Lamar Jackson last season, 2024 into 25, brilliant, could run, could pass.
Should have been MVP.
This season potentially didn't complete one full week of training, or he's had an injury, something wrong, and then he came out kicking off about taking out the pool tables out of the trainer's room and all that sort of stuff, and just things never seemed to click for them. That everyone thought once Lamar would get fit and they started getting their defense fit, they would come and go on a run and qualify for the playoffs, and Steelers still won the division. So I think Ravens are quite big losers on that, and now they've just lost their 18-year head coach. They've also lost, they've had a quite significant staff turnaround in a short space of time, which could again change the way they play or the way they view Lamar and things like that.
Interesting. But I
don't want to.
I disagree with that part of it. I agree with the majority of the part that they did have a disappointing season. They were 1-5 to start with. They tried to claw their way out of it. They didn't make the playoffs. Lamar was inconsistent when he was healthy, and was on the injury report a lot, and there was a lot of different things that happened. But any team that has Lamar Jackson as the quarterback is going to be contending. And their defense is going to improve from this year. And getting a coach like Jesse Minter as the head coach, who's worked with Lamar before, has a great relationship with Lamar. I think that's only going to bode well for the Ravens.
I was going to say my only pushback is that I actually think getting rid of John Harbaugh is a good thing.
I agree.
I think that's something that the Ravens
the message
needed.
got stale. Like that, it was. There was a lot of
their season,
their
season, as you said, Batch. I mean, they should have won this division. This division was theirs in a season where you put Lamar Jackson in this playoffs with that Bills team being the best team really in terms of the quarterback. We all spoke about it earlier, the lack of Mahomes and that in these playoffs. If you're an AFC team, this was the year essentially. You put a Ravens team in that, then they're going to feel very, very good about that. And they missed out on that because of injuries and because of stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you, Batch, in terms of a very, very disappointing if you're a Ravens fan, because you're sat there thinking, wow, if we had just got in this year with a healthy Lamar Jackson, and you're telling me we could have had to beat Drake May and Bo Nix.
Yeah.
I think they would have fancied. I say Drake May like that was a bad thing. Drake May had an absolutely incredible season. Don't get me wrong, was not quite the same player in the playoffs. But you're a Ravens fan. You're taking that bet every single time. You're taking Lamar Jackson over all of those guys. So yeah, you're very, very, very disappointed. I think any of those teams that is not the Chiefs that didn't make the playoffs this year are thinking that are kind of like
the Bengals as well.
Yeah, I mean the Bengals. You're thinking if we got into these playoffs with Joe Burrow, with a healthy Joe Burrow, and I think any team that has that kind of quarterback, I say any team, it pretty much is just Joe Burrow and obviously Lamar Jackson. But yeah, you're obviously really, really disappointed.
We're doing winners now, right, Fletch?
Give us a winner if you can, please, Tom.
Yeah, so for me, and as much as I hate to admit it, and Ollie's going to laugh at this, I'm picking the Jacksonville Jaguars as a winner, as someone who was hating on them the majority of this season and hating on T-Law. They really proved something to me the second half of the season. They went on an absolute tear. And I know obviously it didn't work out for them in the playoffs, but they got a very good young core, especially defensively. And Trevor Lawrence, started to live up to some of that hype of him getting picked first overall, especially the second half of the year. I mean, he was lights out. I mean, there's a reason why he was in, the MVP. He was an MVP finalist. So I think they've got a bright future with Liam Cohen as well as head coach.
That's so funny.
I know. I knew you were going to find it.
That was
obviously Travis Hunter. It has now been announced that they plan to now intend to play him at cornerback with some. I think the idea is that he might have a gadget play here or there, but I mean they traded 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick for a cornerback. That's not the best look. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right, Tom. Obviously,
and they've got loads of good pieces as well. Like even guys that you wouldn't thought were like that great before the season. Parker Washington had a great season for them. Travis Etienne had a good season as well. Obviously on the defense, Devin Lloyd, and Josh Allen.
Josh Hines Allen, yeah.
Yeah, so they they've just got a really good core to move forward with, and especially with their division. I mean, outside of the Texans' defense, does anyone else scare you, really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
So you said no Seahawks, obviously, Fletch, did you? Because obviously that would be the
yeah,
obvious
it's
answer.
on the two on the nose.
So I will stay within the NFC North, and I will go Chicago Bears. Um, I think just seeing the first year out of this Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams partnership working straight away. I think a lot of people didn't expect them to make the playoffs this year. I think they thought we thought they'd make steps in that direction, but to have the season that they did have, that yes was a bit chaotic, was a bit all over the place. Did they win some games they maybe shouldn't have? Maybe. Did they lose some games they maybe shouldn't have? Maybe. But I think to just get what we saw out of Caleb Williams, out of their young star quarterback. I mean, some of the throws that he made in that playoff game were just genuinely insane. And I said it the last time I was on. I think if I saw a Browns quarterback, you can echo this sentiment back. But if I saw a Browns quarterback make some of the throws that Jalen Williams made in that playoff game, I'd have built a statue for them in my flat. So genuinely, I think you
Weren't
feel very,
you
very good.
at the
Pardon,
start of
Fletch?
last season? Weren't you a massive hype train for Caleb anyway?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
and
he was.
obviously on a
He's
personal
been the
level,
biggest fan of Caleb for the last like 4 years.
yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, obviously,
But
so
it's
on a
nice for
personal
it to
level,
come to fruition for you.
yeah, and as I said, don't get me wrong, he was up and down. I mean, how many times, Tom, did I come on here throughout the season? I said, he had one of them games where half the time he looked terrible, and the other half he looked like the best quarterback in the NFL. Obviously, it's the next step is that
I mean, that happened in the
consistency.
playoffs as well, right? He was
Happened in the
lights out, but
playoffs
then
as
he
well.
also
Yeah,
threw that terrible pick as
yeah,
well.
just hilarious. Yeah, so and I think that's the next step for him. But I think the reason why you were excited as a Bears fan is because you saw this with Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson. Year one, you went and won 11 games, made the playoffs. First time they made the playoffs in a while. I think you feel really good as a Bears fan, and their defense as well. Really surprisingly pretty. Well, I say surprising. But I mean really, really, really good as well. So yeah, you feel
Yeah.
really good as a Bears fan.
So
That was yours. I'm guessing.
Bears were my winners, and the only reason I didn't go with the Vikings for that was because I was like, I don't want to go all NFC North
Sorry,
in one
mate.
go. So I was like,
Sorry.
oh great, at least someone's brought up the Vikings, and it was, and then you fucking took the. I appreciate it. I appreciate it,
Sorry,
pal.
man.
So
Sorry,
Batch,
man.
you're gonna have to go. You're gonna have to go with your winners now, and I'm gonna go find a bloody another one. Thank you.
Sean McDermott. He got the Broncos. They had a terrible cap situation. They got rid of their
Sean
QB.
You
Payton.
mean Sean
Sean
Payton?
Sean
I was
Payton.
gonna
I
say
said
Sean
Sean
McDermott
McDermott
got
got fired.
fired.
So I don't think he's
Yeah,
the winner.
sorry, name. Sean
Yeah,
Payton.
yeah.
Sean Payton. They ate a lot of cap. They brought in Bo Nix. They
The
got
most
to the
cap in
playoffs.
NFL history.
Yeah, exactly. They got to the playoffs, and if it weren't for Bo Nix breaking his ankle, they could have proceeded further. I think Sean Payton is definitely up there with the winners. He might be an old stubborn sod, but he's proved his worth as a coach.
I mean, he's an absolute prick with the amount of
Oh,
confidence as anything, but
he is
he
a
also
yeah,
earned that right as one of those great offensive minds. So
yeah. He's such a good coach, but
yeah,
I just yeah, he's not a yeah. I hate him,
he's
but he
not a
is a very,
likable
very good
person.
coach. He's a very,
No,
very good coach. Fletch, who
I
did
like
you come up? I'm excited to see who you came up with on the fly
Listen,
now.
if you are aware, I am off the dome in this right now. But I'm gonna go with the Saints. They overperformed
Good
this year.
shout, good shout, good
They
shout.
overperformed this year, but
Yep,
what they
yep,
found out within that overperforming was that Tyler Shook might actually be the quarterback
yep.
for the future.
Mm.
Which,
Alan Moore.
look, that's not a bad thing to find out with a rookie that he, especially given kind of the circumstances that he's been in. Uh, Kellen Moore has been as the improvements are, I think, roster wide are fantastic, and they've really again setting yourselves up for year two to build on that and what he's been able to do to set that. But also, have you seen? I need to get the actual number up, but like next year's cap hit and the cap hell that they're in, it's almost gone.
Mm.
The vast majority of it is gone. So I think, given the fact that you've got Shook tonight, you've got all of these different, and you again, I'm pulling this out my ass here, so I'm gonna have to figure it out. I'm figuring out the words as I go. The improvement under Kellen Moore, the improvement under with things like the cap space and all that sort of stuff, you are setting yourself up very, very nicely for the next couple of years. And then you just watch the rest of your division be unable to wrestle
Crumble to
themselves out.
pieces, basically. Yeah.
Like you're
Yeah,
thinking,
you're in the easiest division in the NFL.
you're thinking every single one of those like teams, they're playing with a straight jacket on for whatever reason. That just
Just
none of them seem to
Bucks
be.
fans.
They all went 8-9 for God's sake.
Yeah, this is
Like-
it. I mean, Bucks
the
fans must be happy that we're not absolutely traipsing their team's pieces as one of the losers because we didn't get onto that.
Yeah.
But
Oh, I mean,
So-
I would have, but everyone would have then accused me of always being the Baker Mayfield hater. So I thought I'd stay off that one.
yeah.
So, what I was going to say with that, and then you incorporate the division that they're in.
Mm.
And the only team I'd be truly thinking about next year at the moment would be, I don't quite know what I'm going to get out the Falcons, because the likelihood is, look, Kevin Stefanski's hopefully going to improve that team and get the most out of it that Raheem Morris just couldn't quite get out of that.
Don't get me wrong. At first, I really, and this is not a personal thing for like, I wanted Stefanski to do well at the Falcons, and then I interacted with Falcons Twitter after the whole defensive rookie of the year stuff, and now I want everything bad for Atlanta Falcons. I want them to lose every game.
Even
I want
Is
does Chapman not
Chapman doesn't
say-
know about this
No.
yet. Chapman doesn't know about this yet, so I haven't quite yet broken this to him. I'm still figuring out how to do that. But with some of the interactions I had with Falcons accounts on Falcons Twitter, yeah, I want them to lose every single game. And obviously they are going to be without their defensive of the rookie of the not of the year because he didn't win it. That's something that I don't know if we covered. Obviously, he will not be probably playing for any time soon. But I obviously, don't want the Falcons to do very well. That's okay. Maybe that's a lie. I love Chapman more than I
was going to say,
hate these accounts on Twitter.
We've spoke about, like, the Patriots hire Mike Vrabel. Is he worth an extra 3-4? Is your love for Chapman worth 2 to 3 wins? On the season? Like, how many wins is that?
It is, and so like, but obviously when we play the Falcons,
Oh yeah, obviously.
I want all the smoke. But I'll give Chapman some wins throughout the season to make it a little bit less miserable, as I know as a Browns fan what it's like as a Falcons fan.
Yeah, I'm going to say, like, I appreciate and love every single one of you. It didn't happen quite yet this year with one of the teams that we played, but on the days that you played the Lions, I want you all in buckets of tears at the end of the night. I don't want that to be a pleasant day for any other game of the year. Have a lovely time, but the day you play the Lions, I hope that's not a pleasant experience for you.
It wasn't a very pleasant experience.
I expect the Browns.
It wasn't a very pleasant experience for you playing us this season.
Shut up, Tom.
It wasn't a
No
very pleasant experience for my team most of the time. So
no.
Fletch, going back to what you said about their cap number.
Yeah.
According to Sport Rack, New Orleans are
okay. Sorry, Batch. I'd have to stop you there. Don't use Sport Track. It sucks. Over the cap. The cap. Spot Track's like is so. It's insane how behind they are on some of the stuff compared to Over the Cap. Sorry, I'm such a nerd with this stuff.
No, that's fair enough.
I'm such a nerd with this stuff and I've told so many people, like the amount of times I've been like, guys, you got to use Over the Cap versus not you guys. I'm talking about other people. You got to use Over the Cap versus Spot Track.
Well, I'm going to say that's what I got up was Over the Cap. 6 million. Or in the red at the moment.
That'd be right.
Oh, wow, that's crazy considering where they were at.
Over the Cap have always got the most updated and correct numbers.
But I love back to his face. Then like, what the fuck have I done? Like,
Yeah, I know.
don't shout at me.
He was probably like, wait, what have I done?
No one shout at me. But yeah, they're currently 6 million in the red, which given what 3 years ago they were like 90 odd million,
Yeah,
and
they
there
were
was no
deep
way
in
of getting
cap
out
But
of
hell.
it.
even then, though, every year it was like, oh no, the Saints are going to have to cut everyone. They were in this cap hell, and everyone says it with the Browns every year, like the last few years, and it's like, oh wait, the cap doesn't actually exist. So do you know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. Yes, they are in a much better, healthier situation. You're always going to take being in a healthier cap situation over not being in a healthier cap situation, of course. But I did find it funny every year when people would be like, it'd be the same conversation every year with the Saints, like, oh my god, they have to cut everyone.
All right. Okay, so wary of time. We're going to end this the winners and losers at this moment in time. Now I'm going to do one really quick. I'm going to go around the room. I want you to say sentence or less your worst take for the 2025 season, all in all. And I'll go first just to give you an example of what it is. I said at the start of the season, I'm sure you will all remember, Aaron Glenn would be a better head coach and have more success in his first year than Ben Johnson would.
You
That
did
was
say
my
that, yes,
worst.
yeah.
That was my worst take of the year.
Fair
Impeccably
play,
wrong. Um,
fair
so
play. Yep,
go.
fair play. Um, I I said that the Ravens would dog walk the AFC North, but I do think if they didn't have their entire team injured, sorry, the first like 6 weeks of the season, I do think they would have. But in the end of the day, I was wrong on that. But I will try and think of an even worse one because, as I said, I don't think that's entirely that bad because of the injury one. But that's my one for now.
But I do like how. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't think the Ravens would be as bad as they were.
Well,
I
I'm
like
sorry. I
that.
didn't think that half the entire defense would be injured for 4 weeks.
The
No,
team
I
formerly
just
known as the Browns.
if I have to go in and tell everyone I had a bad take, I need to drag the
Well,
Ravens down
guys,
with.
we know I don't do bad takes. Like, come on,
Um,
this is hard for me. I'm obviously joking,
it
by the
was
way, guys.
it
All of
was
my takes are bad.
it just made me think of like, oh, I was so wrong. I said I was gonna have a threesome with
Nah,
two
the
fit
reason I
models, and
actually
I
did
had a
say it,
foursome with them
the re-
instead.
the
It was
the
horrible.
reason I did is because I did have a second one, which is actually a worse take, which I've now forgotten. But I know I had an even worse take than that, which I wanted to get onto, which is why I said next person go while I try and remember it.
My but my bad take was that T Law wasn't as good as he was this season.
I mean,
She's fair.
I could also take.
Yeah, I think Tom can probably join you on that one, mate.
Yeah. I genuinely
I mean,
didn't think he was that good.
Tom didn't say, "Oh, I don't think he's that good." Tom said, "This guy sucks. He's the worst quarterback of all time. He
He
deserves
got off
jail
screen.
sentences
I never said it as bad
for
as
his
that.
crimes against the sport of football."
I am sure you invoked the Geneva Convention at one
I
point.
think he did. War crimes was even uttered
It
at
was
certain points.
because of the treading over international waters while doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
I'm almost
yeah, yeah,
sure certain the Geneva
yeah,
Convention was implied.
yeah.
Oh my God. I'm trying to think which one. I mean, there are some bad ones. Ollie, is there any that you remember that I said? Because I'm struggling to.
Um, you had Packers Super Bowl.
Oh yeah,
That's not that bad, I suppose, because they
yeah.
got pretty injured at the end.
I like that was a bad take.
Ja
Just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah, I think I'd say the Jaguars was probably your.
It
Well, I
probably was
mean,
the Jags, wasn't it?
don't get me wrong. Like technically, your worst take was
My worst
picking
one was picking
Chiefs
the
to go
Chiefs to go
Super
to the
Bowl.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, like technically, that's your worst take, I suppose.
I guess, yeah. I'll live on that. I picked the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl, and I picked Patrick Mahomes to win MVP. And obviously, that is not how the season unfolded.
Yeah, but there's
That
no
being
bias
said,
as well.
Mahomes was in MVP
I,
conversations for a
I've
bit.
got it.
Got injured, and
I've remembered my worst take.
you remember it?
Go on.
I remember it. I said that the AFC South, that every team would hover between 7 and 9 wins. I
Mm.
Oh,
said the divisions. I said the division was going to suck, and that all the teams were going to finish around. I said no team was going to win more than 10 games, and that they were all going to finish around 8, 9 wins. and we had 2 teams win 13 and 12 games. So I think I was pretty wrong on that one.
Now, if you'd have just said AFC instead, NFC instead of AFC, you'd have been
I
bang
know,
on.
I know. I'd have been bang on. Literally would have been bang on, wouldn't I? So then, yeah, you'd have had 9 and 8, 9 and 8, 9 and 7 and 1. Oh, mate, I'd have been bang on. That's actually what I said. Actually, yeah. Sorry, I remember. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
well,
wrong. Is what I said actually.
slip of the tongue. It happens with that.
Slip of the
This
tongue.
is
That
why
is what I said.
Ollie doesn't do bad takes. He
I don't
doesn't
do
get
bad
things
takes.
wrong.
Yeah.
He just doesn't.
Bad takes do me. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
That sounded sus.
What?
Pause.
Yeah.
Plus,
It's just,
Ollie,
the
we both
facts don't
finally
catch up
got
to
off
you.
the Kyler Murray train as well. That like
Yeah,
we've been on the
yeah,
last 2
we
seasons
picked the
before.
best year. We picked the best year to jump off the Kyler Murray train, Tom. So we didn't have to have that egg in our face this year.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
And to be fair, I didn't have the edge on my face that I did last year with the Browns. So
right.
True.
So I want to say a huge thank you to all 3 of you for joining me to recap a bit of the 2025 season. I've liked it. It's been a bit different. It's back into the whole. We have to come up with some of this conversation ourselves. We can't just react to what happened at the weekend for the first time since September. We've not been able to do this. So it's been good. It's been a good laugh. It's been good to have you in, Batch. Before we go, as has been the tradition since Chapman brought it in nearly 2 years ago, we have a question of the week. Pose it to the Discord, and Mrs. Fletch was gonna reply to it, but never did. So you weren't getting yours read out on the podcast. You should have put it in. Got to follow the rules. Got to put it in the Discord. I told you. So, but I want to ask you, lads. The Winter Olympics is on at the moment. I've been enjoying watching it. Been weirdly obsessed with the curling, and 80% of reels on my Instagram at the moment are of curling.
Canadian
If you
cheating.
could, of any of the sports that are sports at the Winter Olympics, compete at any of them, which one would
Easy.
you compete in and why?
So
Go on,
easy.
Ollie.
Snowboarding. Whatever
Are you-
one it is. I'll do big. Do they do big jump snowboarding, or is it all speed stuff?
I have no idea. I haven't watched
I
it.
think they do big jump
I
snowboarding.
think
So
they
I'll
do
do
big jumps.
I'll do the trick style of snowboarding, not the speed style. Speed style is terrifying. I don't want to do any of that. But I'll do all the trick stuff. As someone that grew up with a skateboard on ground versus snow, didn't get much snowboarding in, but have done it a little bit on the fake snow. At the Milton Keynes. I can't remember what it's called.
Yes.
The Milton Keynes Escape. That's what it's called. Doing some snowboarding back then as a
Escape,
kid.
yes.
One of the most fun things to do is snowboarding, and to be honest, just to be in the Olympic Village, doing any sport, I would be very happy.
They clearly get up to a lot in the Olympics.
To spend a few weeks with
if you've seen the headlines recently.
Oh, every time, and
not well equipped enough. It's not very
I
well
think
equipped.
I'd rather do the Winter Olympics than the actually I don't know. Does the Winter Olympics just? But I don't know. But the Winter Olympics, because obviously a lot of that is them Nordic and Scandinavian countries that do the best in those
Very
sports.
true.
But no, just to spend a couple of weeks in the Olympic Village would be very fun.
Well, listen, I think spending time with some of those Nordic and Scandinavian athletes at the Olympic Village would be a great time. They're some of the best people to have those kind of experiences with.
I was waiting for a right hook to come into your camera then, Fletch.
So Fletch, I'll tell you my one.
Go on.
It would definitely be the skeleton.
Why?
Do you want to die?
Yeah, I do.
You want to die, do you?
I am.
Okay.
I'm a thrill seeker of the top variety. So anything more like it.
Tom, you are
probably
too
gonna kill
big.
me.
You are too big to be doing.
Yeah,
skeleton, mate.
maybe
You
not
are
physically.
far too big to be going on one of them skeleton boards, mate. No.
Okay,
no.
maybe ice hockey then.
Do the bobsled. Like it's the same.
Oh,
at
I
least
was
like, you
gonna
get
say
in the
that.
same speed, but it's not your 6'10" body on a sled going face first 100 mile an
Yeah,
hour.
true. When you put it like that, maybe I'll do the bobsled. Take the inspiration from Cool Runnings and
feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme.
Feel the rhythm,
bobsled.
feel the rhyme.
I would be number 2 or number 3 in a 4-man bobsled.
Oh, nice.
So not having to do the running.
Not have to do the steering, so it's not your fault if it tips. Not have to do the push start from the back
Yeah,
because you're
yeah.
quite important.
Yeah,
2
so
or
no
3,
responsibility
a lot less
basically.
pressure.
So
So basically,
basically,
your job is the same as if you were just a mannequin.
your job is to get a free ride down a hill.
Imagine that's your actual you're just the gap filler.
That's like being a
I'm
third
just
choice
here.
goalkeeper.
I'm just here for weight distribution, mate.
Third choice goalkeeper, third QB. You know,
I reckon you'll have to keep a certain weight though. You'll have to be on a. I reckon they wouldn't let you get. You know what I mean? You'll have to be regimented to a certain weight.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what they
And can
always
we just
say.
say how funny it is that all of the sports with the guns in it, the America sucks at.
Oh yeah,
Like, how does that even possible? Like,
yeah, like the skeet
literally,
shooting and shit like that.
all of the all
Biathlon.
of the sports with the guns in, America suck at, and I don't quite understand how that works.
I was really, really upset then because I thought Tom was going to take mine. I'm going to go with the skeleton. I'm not
Yeah.
nearly as You can probably. I'm probably up to about Tom's shoulder
I was
here.
gonna say,
By the
how
sounds of
tall
it,
are you, Fletch?
I'm 5'10".
Okay. Yeah,
So
you'd be perfect for a skeleton then.
like I am just about everything in my. I'm bang average everything. Like almost spot on the average human being.
It
So
it's funny because I say you want to die doing skeleton, but snowboarding is probably way more injuries in the snowboarding than there is in the skeleton. But it's just the fear aspect, man, of going that fast head first.
It was going to be. I thought the obvious answer here would be the two obvious answers would be curling because it. Not to sit. No, I don't want to put anything down on curling and curlers, but it looks like when you watch it, it doesn't look like the most athletic of.
No.
So,
The
but
most
I also
athletic person in curling is the one literally like.
yeah, which I believe I'd be very good at when you put it like that, Tom. I believe I'd be very very good at it. But also don't want Mrs. Fletch to get the idea that I know how to use a sweeping brush. So that one's out of it. But also, I thought it'd be too obvious, so I said the skeleton because, like, just the idea here for me is you can fling me down a hill on a skateboard face first. I'm down for that.
It's just Canadian bowls in it.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's just Canadians' version of bowls.
Which I used to. I grew up playing like the one middle class thing I've ever done in my life was I used to grow up playing bowls with my nan in a garden, and she had a little set, so I used to love playing it. And she used to take me down to the park where she lived, and we'd go a little bowls club, and every now and again get to go in there, which was dead nice. So like I could absolutely see myself playing a game like that, but yeah, I just like I said,
Nah,
I don't want Missy
I
Fletch
don't
getting
really
the
get
idea
the
I can use a sweeping brush.
I don't really get the curling height. Like it's one of them sports that everyone
Neither
like.
do I, to be honest.
They make a bigger deal than it is, and I'm kind of like I don't think it's that funny. Like
I don't. I mean,
there's more
I'm one of those
funnier
people.
sports at the winter. Like the shooting ones are so funny. Like you've got these people like skiing for like 5 minutes down a mountain, and then for some reason they've got to pull out a gun and go back and shoot some targets, and then they've got to ski a bit more. Like that's way more funnier than someone just throwing just playing lawn bowls but on ice.
Yeah, but there was a bit of controversy in lawn
Yes,
bowls.
there
I saw
was.
that. Yeah,
Cheating
double
Canadian
tap, the
bastards.
double tap,
Cheating Canadian bastards.
infamous.
Yeah, but the British also got done for it.
Now that I'm sorry, but if you had said to me that the two countries that would have got done for cheating was Britain and Canada, and I'm not saying this in any sarcasm, I mean this deadly serious, I would have been shocked. They are the two. They are the two most polite. Do you know what is going on? We need to be better, guys. Come on.
But we also need to know the reaction of the Canadian who got caught cheating in his first out off. It was basically all right. Then catch me outside. How about that? Just offered him out. I thought that was class.
What about in not just cheating? What about the guy that literally admitted on the mic that he cheated on his girlfriend? Like that was too good. Man.
That was funny.
But with the Canadian thing, did you notice their opposition actually set up a camera to find it because they know they were conspicuous with it?
Well, just to finish off on the thing, curling is currently live for anyone interested. You can go.
Yeah, I know. Like, hurry up, please.
And sorry, so is the bobsled. So yeah, we better wrap this up.
Nice.
Appreciate it. Yeah, that was final question of the week. Obviously, every single one of those questions they get asked on the Sunday in the Discord channel, and we will read yours out if you put them on in the Discord channel. Yeah. So please do that. We will see you next week where we've got a bit of an interesting idea. I need to tidy it up a bit. Batch will be joining us again next week, I hope.
Yes, I shall be here.
Hopefully Chapman will be as well. See you next week. We're hurdling 2020. Just got to hurdle 2025. I think that's a nice easy one this week.